All right. Welcome, everyone. So this is my second video I'm going to do for parallel and perpendicular lines, but this one's specifically going to be talking about writing equations. So this is equations of a line parallel and perpendicular through a given point. So just as a reminder, writing equations, you need two things. You need a point and a slope. I'm also going to talk a lot about today going from y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is what we know as point slope form, to slope intercept form. Which is known as y equals mx plus b. Now, I will go ahead and tell you that if I go over this too fast, there is a separate video where I go a little bit slower just on point slope form to slope intercept form. But today I'm really going to focus on writing those equations parallel to y equals 7/5 x plus 4 and go through 5/2. Sorry, parallel and perpendicular through a given point. Now let's start example 1. So example 1, write equation parallel to y equals 7/5 x plus 4 and goes through the point 5/2. Okay, so I highlighted a few things. I highlighted parallel, I highlighted my equation, and I highlighted the point it goes through. So what I want to just remind you guys is I'm looking for two things here. I'm looking for a point and a slope. Well, here's the deal. I got my point, that's right there, which means this parallel to y equals 7/5 x plus 4 has got to give me my slope. So the slope of this line is going to be 7/5, coefficient of x. So the slope of my new line will also be 7/5, because parallel lines have the exact same slope. So now what I'm going to do is take my slope and take my point and plug it into point slope form. So I'll get y minus 2 equals 7/5 x minus x1, which will be 5. So I took my slope, x1 and y1 plugged in. So technically, we are done, right? If all it says write the equation to a line parallel to that equation and goes to this point, we've done that. That would be an answer there. However, on the STAR test and a lot of things that you'll run into, they're going to have the answer in slope intercept form. I'm not going to say all the time, but a good chunk of the time. So I'm also going to convert this from y minus 2 equals 7/5 x minus 5 to y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to do this in 2 steps usually. So the first thing I'll do is I'll check for the double negatives. If I got to change anything to a positive, which this one I don't. The second thing I'm going to do is notice that y equals mx plus b doesn't have any parentheses. So the first thing I'm going to do here is actually distribute this to get to get rid of my parentheses. So what we'll get is y minus 2 equals 7/5 times x is 7/5 x. And 7/5 times -5 is -7. If you don't know that, you can plug it into a calculator. It'll do it for you. Now, the last thing about y equals mx plus b is y is completely by itself. So what I'm going to do next is add the 2 to both sides to isolate y. And so what I get here is y equals 7/5 x minus 5, -7 plus 2. So now y is completely by itself. M is 7/5, b is -5. So this is the answer in slope intercept form. So like I said, this is an answer, okay? But on the STAR test, the answer choices will usually be in slope intercept form, so just be ready for that. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 more examples of this because this is a pretty big topic. So let's keep going. So next up, I want to write an equation parallel to y equals -3x minus 1 through -1, 3. Got my point. When I see parallel, this means same slope. So my slope there is -3, so the slope of my new line will also be -3. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this into point slope form. So we get y minus y1, which will be 3. Oops, let me write that in a different color here. Y1, which will be 3, equals to -3, which is my slope, times x minus x1, which is -1. Okay, so next up, what we're going to have here is, as I was saying before, I'm going to look for my double negatives, which I have one. So we get y minus 3 equals -3 times x. Two negatives become positive, so we get x plus 1. This is technically an answer if you were just writing an equation. However, I'm also going to solve for y here. So first thing I'm going to do is distribute the -3 to get rid of the parentheses. So -3 times x is -3x. -3 times 1 is -3. Okay, y minus 3 equals -3x minus 3. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides to get rid of the -3 over here so I can get y by itself. So we get y equals -3x, and -3 plus 3 goes to 0. So that is what we're left with, and that is in slope-intercept form right there. So that's parallel. We're going to do 2 more examples, but this time we'll do perpendicular. So next up, write an equation perpendicular to y equals 4x minus 1 and goes through 1, -2. So check, we've got our point. We now need our slope. However, my slope is going to be different. So the slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal. We'll talk about what that means. So our slope of this line is 4. So I want to do the opposite reciprocal. That's a positive 4, so the opposite is going to be negative. The reciprocal, this is 4 over 1. So I'm going to make this 1 over 4. The reciprocal of 4 is 1 over 4, so we flip it over. Okay? And so now I'm going to plug into point slope form. So we have y minus y1, which is -2, equal to -1/4 x minus x1, which is 1. Okay, you look for your double negatives. Well, y minus -2 will become y plus 2 equals -1/4 x minus 1. And if we were just asked to write the equation, we've done it. However, I'm also going to quickly convert this to slope-intercept form for you guys. So first, distribute the -1/4. So -1/4 times -1 becomes +1/4. Then I'll subtract 2 from both sides. So we get y equals -1/4 x. This will become -7/4 or -1.75. And now we are in slope-intercept form. If you're confused about the fractions, you have a calculator. That's okay. You don't need to fret about that. We're more so focused on, can you write the equation and can you convert it? Okay, one more here. Write an equation perpendicular, right? So opposite reciprocal to y equals 2/3 x plus 5 and goes to the point 0.03. All right, this one is actually going to be very fast. So first, perpendicular. We got 2/3 here, so opposite reciprocal would be -3/2. Second thing I want to point out, this is your y-intercept. How do I know? X equals 0. I have a whole video on x and y-intercepts as well. So since x equals 0, that's my y-intercept. So in slope-intercept form, this is y equals -3/2 x plus 3. And we are done there. They give you that y-intercept, guys. These problems are pretty quick. So hopefully that clarifies some things and makes sense. Thanks so much.